It's happening. John, we are live.
We are live.
For the first time, yes. Oh, and it is live. Oh my goodness, look at this.
I can't see anything, but it's cool.
It is cool. It is cool.
Vicariously through you.
Yes, and the reason we are live is because we're doing a stream for first-timers at IAEM, which you are going to be.
Yes, the belly of the beast. I'm jumping in. Noted on LinkedIn. Yes. Hey, I've been convinced. I have a lot of friends who are going. It's a great social thing. It's a great thing for networking and learning. So I have no idea what to expect, and I'm hoping you can kind of walk me through it.
Yeah. So I guess first and foremost, why this time? Because I know a lot of people have been trying to drag you to IAEM for a long time.
A lot of people, I would say it's probably been since 2012.
All right.
People ask me, because when I got my job in DC, and so, yeah, you're talking about 10 years. Why now? I think there's a lot of reasons. One, I have a lot of trust in this guy named Zach Forrest.
He's a good dude.
Dude, if anybody is going to get referral, I don't know how referrals with IAEM work, but there should be a referral program for sure, because we were just talking about all the wins, and for the last couple years of my podcast, I talk with really great people who go, and I was like, you know what? Like, people I like are going. It sounds like from the social aspect of it, from the networking aspect, there's a lot of learning that can happen.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I'm a business owner, and what an opportunity to learn from other people and to meet and connect and share ideas. So from all that stuff, I think it's great. When I was on the national strike team and running and gunning, I don't think it was such a high priority. But I mean, maybe that's the other thing. Like, maybe it's like COVID, like the COVID itch. Like, I just want to get in front of my friends again. So.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the reason that I love IAEM. So as emergency managers, we don't really have like the culture and the tradition and like the fun stuff of like the fire service. So when I left the fire service and then joined emergency management, I was like, well, where is everybody? And I looked around and it was me, and I was like, oh, is this what emergency management's like? And the answer is no, it is not what emergency management's like, or what it's not what it's supposed to be like. It still has, like, there is a community. It's just, like, harder to find. So when I got to IAEM the first time, and Bill Ballard, who was, like, my sort of mentor and Yoda when I was first getting started, was like, he's been going to IAEM, he loved it, and he was like, you got to join IAEM. And I was like, all right, what the heck, why not? I'll join the association. And then went to the conference, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the promised land. I'm like, look at all these fellow emergency managers. I'm like, you don't even have to feel like a dork. You can wear tack pants here casually.
I can wear my polo.
Yeah, you can definitely wear your polos and stuff. But the thing that I realized immediately was, like, there's a lot of us, and we're a much more diverse group than the impression that I got from, like, the few meetings that I attended. And then got to sort of, I guess, see all of the different aspects of emergency management. I was able to ask questions and, like, from, like, experts. Like, you just have such exposure to everything. And so I was really psyched to just, like, be around, like, important and knowledgeable and, like, exciting people. And I was lucky enough, I was in the Universities and College Caucus when I first joined. And so we had, like, on top of IAEM's big network, there was this, like, subcategory of, like, really excited, dedicated higher ed emergency managers. And they just, like, took me in, and they're like, we're going to make you the best emergency manager there is. And so here I am, almost.
You are.
I would say, let's see, I joined 2015 maybe? Yeah, so very awesome. And I got mic issues. I got to switch my mic.
Yeah. So why you're looking at that? So it's kind of funny. I'm curious to see what it's like because honestly, from an outsider's perspective, and I admit it's an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
The
Does this mic sound better, by the way?
Oh my gosh, look at that. That was like
Oh, this is
talk
so
about the
unfortunate. Everyone's gonna
the
think I'm
promise
like an
mic.
amateur hour with my mic.
You just became like the Moses. Looks
Dulcet
like your
tones.
Moses
Hey.
staff.
Hello, everybody. Now we're back at NPR talking IAM.
Hello.
Yes.
Wait,
Sorry.
can you hear that? Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
yeah,
hold
yeah,
on.
yeah. Oh, you get to use this. Yeah, you get to use your sound
I can use
effects.
mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know about like, so like the community aspect of it. I think it's great for networking. I still don't think it's created a culture, because you have people like me who's known about it for forever.
Yes.
Who's been invited for 10 years, and I'm hyper curious to see about the outcomes that are yielded. My assumptions are that it's good for networking, it's good to catch up, it's good for idea sharing. But I do think, like real talk, I think we're missing something about culture in our field.
Oh,
And
100%.
I don't necessarily want to be like 45 fat, polo tactical pants and combat boots in a building. Right?
Why
Like,
not?
we can do more, but you're right. Like, it has a huge crowd. A ton of my friends are going, and it's like, okay, like instead of just all these assumptions, sometimes for data gathering, it is good to be like, okay, like, you know what? I'm just gonna check this out.
So you're
Like,
treating this like some sort of scientific experiment, like an anthropological study?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be walking in the zoo for sure. You know, like when Parks and Rec, when Ron's watching all the vegans.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm gonna be a little bit. But I have so many good friends, like yourself included, who do that stuff. Now I'm not talking about CEM,
Yeah.
because you're not CEM. But from a community standpoint, there's a community there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So-
I think it's,
Yeah.
for me, it was like, especially for our Region 1 folks, like, there's, Anne Marie McLaughlin, Justin. There's all these great people that we all come together and like go out and get drinks together and catch up and figure out you go to there are Region 1 meetings, and, I'll honestly say I haven't been to any in the last couple of years just because it's been a pain to get out. But you go to like the trainings and the meetings and you're like so like task saturated. You don't really have time to like kind of get together. And like usually I'm traveling like from Vermont down to wherever. And so like this also is just an opportunity to sort of like get together. And then, I mean, of course, this is not like the entire purpose of it. It'd be really expensive to just like, have dinner with your friends. But there is a huge aspect of like all of the emergency managers coming together and getting to like just be, like EMs, like fully kind of throw yourself into it and, be the nerd out, catch up, learn from the best. And so I just, even the social aspect of it, I think is so critically important. And there's a lot of good sessions. Like there's so much stuff that I used to that I've learned from these sessions that I immediately put into practice. Like, cause that's the other thing, like you're basically, I don't remember how many sessions there are per day, but it's a lot. And you basically get to learn from everyone else's AAR in like this rapid succession, because most of the sessions are based on an incident, right? Like it's something that they dealt with and they're like, oh crap, I got to fix this. So that's the drive from a lot of it. And so that means that you basically get to rapid, like speed date your way through after actions and build out your plan.
Communication.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of communication for sure. And for some reason, we still haven't solved that one. But I think the fun part is like seeing something. So, oh my God, I'm gonna screw it up. The Hawaii, I think it was the state agency had this plan that they put together where there was like all these like great sort of like checklists and stuff. And I was like, oh, like this is what I was trying to do. Like I was banging my head against the wall, like trying to figure out how to like make this efficient. I think it was a decision matrix. That's what it was. So they had some sort of decision matrix to help their like leadership, be comfortable in moving stuff along. I think it was like warnings, because you have like something happen and they were like not super ready to push the button. Unfortunately, a few years later, they pushed the button and they shouldn't have. But in this case,
wait. There it is.
Yeah. So they had pushed the button in that case, but they had this really cool plan, and I'm going back like 7 years, so I don't really remember specifics, but I took this like cool concept and then integrated it into our plan instead of whatever it was some type of storm that they were really focused on that they have to deal with, and I did it for blizzards, and like we had been, of course it's took some translating from tropical weather to blizzard. And honestly, I was pissed that they got to enjoy tropical weather while I was freezing. But either way, like they had this really cool process, and I was like, I don't know that I would have come up with it on my own. Maybe I would have after like 1,000 iterations of blizzard situations. But in this case, I got to basically see there and then talk to the person who wrote it and just be like, what were you thinking? What was sort of the drive behind this? What did you screw up? Obviously they're not necessarily going to talk about this in front of, hundreds or however many people are in there. And they're like, this is what happened and this is how we should fix it. And so awesome of them to share that. And then I got to just basically go back home and immediately put that in. I mean, my notes were just like, not physical notes. I was typing, but like pages and pages and pages and pages of notes I came back with.
Scrolling of notes.
Yeah, and then it's just it's like you just can't find that anywhere else. And there are other conferences that I think are good. Like some are better at certain things than IAEM is, but it's just so huge. Like it's the big one. Right? So you got to go.
Yeah, that's. I think still that there's a reality here of like. If you combine, like I know there's like the field is starting to segregate between emergency management and crisis management, but it's essentially the same thing.
Sure.
Public versus private. I think it's still 10-1 of people who don't come. It is like the best aggregator of like emergency managers. I also went to National Hurricane Conference for the first time this year as well, actually. I'm just branching out, starting to get the feelers in of like conferences.
It's good. Gotta get out there.
Guy. But at the same time, like these different conferences, I think anytime that we can get together as a field and just like kind of like let go a little bit is a good thing. And the podcasts have been providing that where it's like this community is like, I don't have to be weird about saying like I think about disasters every day.
Yeah.
And like walking through that process, I do think there's some obvious gaps that need to be addressed.
Oh, of course, yeah.
From everything, like everything has that. But obviously, you've been kicking at that door to me like several months now. Like, hey, you should go. And I'm getting pretty excited, right? Like the opportunity to hear those like ideas and to kind of hopefully relax a little bit and be able to poke fun at ourselves. Like we don't get the opportunity to do that too much, and just like have a good time. It's an opportunity for sure. I'm excited. The one thing I noticed from like most years when my friends come back from IAEM is they post these pictures. I'm on a mission this time.
Yeah.
They post these pictures of the definitions of emergency management. I'm going to try to capture how many definitions of emergency management.
Oh God, you're like gonna run out of. You're not gonna have enough data. I think.
It's gonna be fun.
I sort of purposefully for a long time would go to sessions where they were like talking about what is emergency management, and then just being like the squeaky wheel and just being like, you're talking about like stuff, but like, what are we? We can't even define who we are. How are we going to move on as a field if we can't even define? And I won't get into the argument here for sure, but I think the field of emergency management versus the job of emergency manager is like two very separate things. But that's the good part. You get to see all of the different types of emergency managers and stuff there, crisis managers. It is very representative of like all the different types of flavors of the field, right? Like you've got your private sector, you've got your airport, you got your hospital, you got your higher ed, you've got academics there. There is a whole like research arm of it. There's the techies, and you also will sort of unfortunately notice that they all tend to sort of segment at some point. Like everyone arrives there, they're all pumped, and then they kind of go off into their caucuses and other stuff, and then, gather around. So that's a little bit more challenging, but for folks that like, I again, one of the biggest reasons to sort of go, especially as a first timer, is the networking. Like you are going to have connections that you can't get anywhere else, especially for folks who are coming from like little tiny groups. And then the chat, that and the number of cycle and circle graphics there's so many. The circle of emergency management coming around.
The circle, yeah.
But the networking is, I think, especially for first timers, you know, you get to sit down with the former heads of FEMA. You generally, like, I don't know if Administrator Craswell will be there. I'm sure she will. But with everything going on, maybe not. But getting to, essentially have FaceTime with these folks is like, you can't do that anywhere else. And so that's all right. So let's go to the first time. Like, what do you do as a first timer? So first timer, if you can afford it, go to the events. Like, I know they cost extra, but they can be really helpful in sort of like getting introduced, because a lot of the events are attended by two people: the first timers and then like the hardcores. And so, like the hardcores are like all the people who are wearing their ambassador badges and stuff, and like have the just stack of like random ribbons and stuff. And then the first timers are the lost puppies, just like wandering around, like, someone please show me where I'm supposed to go. So those are fun. Make sure you take advantage of where you're at. Savannah is amazing. I love that city. Oh my God, there's so much like good food. And like it's the river, the Savannah River that goes through. There's huge container ships. Like, I know this is not really a reason to go to IAM, but like you could be sitting there sharing a drink with friends, and then a giant cargo ship goes by. Like, how cool is that?
Okay,
yeah, go ahead.
There's a reason why I didn't go to Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah,
I was kind of debating. I was like, first of all, it's in Michigan, and I'm from Ohio, so go Bucks. So like, second of all, I was like, who wants to go to freaking Grand Rapids
in November?
Like,
yeah.
Savannah?
Well, and I'll be honest, like Grand Rapids, it was nice. I didn't really get a sense for it, but for being a beer city, no way. We went to, I think we hit every single bar in that place and got maybe 2 good beers. We did go to Founders, which was cool. Like, that's a nice little brewery, but it just doesn't have like Savannah's the one. Like, Long Beach was cool because it's close to LA and there's like stuff in Long Beach, but like it's a little bit harder to navigate compared to the other cities. Like, you really have to get an Uber or taxi or rent a car to get to anything. I mean, it's basically LA. It's California. You got to drive everywhere. So that was a little bit more challenging. Savannah, you're in it. Like, once you're in the conference, you basically take the little water taxis across the way, and then there's all the like awesome restaurants right on the river. Pirate House, which is like up sort of on the next street up. Definitely check that out. The Marine Corps Ball is usually going on this time of year, so you usually get to see Marines make huge mistakes, fight each other, and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And then ghost tours. I recommend the ghost tours. I know that sounds really geeky. It's Savannah. It's like a centuries old city.
Oh, yeah.
So doing a ghost tour was a blast. They have like haunted houses, or like like old houses that are still kept in their Victorian status, and you can walk around and hopefully get spooked by ghosts. The food is crazy. It's so good. And as a northerner going to the south, like, the portions are gigantic and it's actually affordable compared to like, Vermont. You get like a little tiny organic grass-fed hamburger, and it costs $30 and it's infused with some weird stuff. And down there, they're like, this is grits, cheese, and stuff. And you're like, yeah, that's all I need.
It's actually probably the perfect town for like emergency managers for getting that emergency manager bod.
Oh yeah. You can pack on a few pounds over the course of a week there.
Every time I go to Savannah, I get a venison burger, and I don't know why.
A venison? Yeah, well, Savannah, I feel like, is known for the seafood, but venison, whatever, man. It's do what you got to do. So the other thing is to make sure you sort of learn the water taxi situation. So the conference happens on one side of the river, the water taxi's on the other. Also, something I didn't know and realized looking out the window one day from my hotel room is there's alligators there. So if you're wandering like through pads and stuff, like, don't be dumb. Like, there actually are alligators, and they're pretty freaking huge, like shockingly gigantic. Yeah, dinosaurs. But yeah, you take the water taxi across the river. That's how you get there, and it runs. It's free, and it runs all the time. And I think IAEM, like, they run extra ones. There's like 2 or 3. Those are just fun. Like, that's what a cool way to like get around, right? Like, because if you drive, it's like a solid 30 or 40 minutes to go from where the hotels and the conference center is to where actual downtown is. So just also be wary of that. The drive from the airport to the actual conference area is like a 30 to 40-minute drive, so just plan accordingly.
That was
It's a little bit of a bummer, but there are vans there. So when we landed, we would usually get a group together, and then especially if you recognize people, I think the vans can hold like 8 people, and you can split it right there. So it costs like nothing, maybe $10 to get to Savannah. That's the easiest thing. You could also do Uber, but you're going to be paying a fortune unless you can group up. So I can't remember exactly in the airport where it is, but basically they have the shuttle vans. Those are the cheapest way to get from the airport to the hotel. And they'll drop you off at different hotels and stuff too. So there's a bunch of if you're a beer person, again, compared to all the other places, I know John doesn't drink, so this is like, now I'm talking to the others. Yeah,
I'm not a drinker.
But if you like beer, they're actually, I noticed the last time I went, which is now a few years, there's a lot more nice little breweries and stuff. Like, it was a pretty raucous time the first time. Like, it was a lot of like Irish bars and stuff. Like, it was just loud and you couldn't really chat. So there's more of like the sort of quiet brewery taverns and stuff popping up, especially on the I don't remember what the street is, the next level street. Wear good shoes. Everything is cobblestone. So don't dress too fancy. If you're wearing high heels, John, and I know you love to show off those calves with the high heels.
Oh yeah.
You got to be like, actually think about this. So to get up to the higher parts, they're like century old iron and stone steps, and they're sketchy as hell. They're dark at night. So wear good shoes, because people will. People rolled their ankles. So many people rolled their ankles, and you're gonna do a lot of walking, because the whole down the river strip and then the streets that are sort of adjacent where all the restaurants and sort of touristy stuff is. There's no point in driving from place to place, so you'll walk. There's a honky-tonk bar. That was pretty fun. Dueling pianos. That's a wild one, though. That's like if you want to get into that was rowdy. But it was pretty fun. And I think that was they do it a couple nights a week. But if you search Dueling Pianos Savannah, you'll find it. All right, now that's all the fun stuff. Conference-wise, go to the sessions. I know people are tempted sometimes to not, you go to a conference, you're like, I'm going to do 2 sessions a day and then I'm going to move on. But if you're a first timer, try to go to as many sessions as possible, and do not in your comfort zone, right? Like, go find something that's like totally random that you've never thought of or seen. And those are where the cool stuff is. Go to the sort of flagship conversations. So the keynotes are usually really good. You kind of forced into those, I think, because everyone, there's the huge conference space where keynotes, the kickoff, all that stuff happens. But go to those talks, because those are usually the high level, leadership. There's usually some sort of fun thing, and I remember one year there was a magician or something. It was kind of, I don't know, comic magician. It was more entertaining than it sounds. And then, try to take those breaks, and if you see people standing around kind of looking around, go talk to those people, make friends. I made so many friends there, people that I talk to all the time, even people that I'll probably never see again in person other than IEM. I have people that I chat with all the time, text Sean at TCU to make fun of their weird chant that I saw. They had some, I don't know if you guys know TCU for football, but they have some weird chant, and I was like, what the heck, dude, you guys are weird. But I met him at the conference, and now we've kept up now for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And I got all sorts of people like that. And these are people that in a crisis, you can also be like, okay, this problem just came up. What do I do? So emergency managers are very good at sharing and collaborating. That's kind of the point of our jobs. So the people that you meet there could save your butt at some point. So I've been doing a lot of talking. What questions do you have, John?
I mean, I think it's you're I can't figure out if you're either building a sit rep for IAEM or we're building an IAP.
Yes.
It's the IAP of IAEM.
Yeah, both of those.
I mean, it sounds like you really benefited from it, right? The Savannah is a draw. I've been to Savannah. I love Savannah. It's a great
so
place.
much fun.
Yeah, that's honestly I'd say it's I'm going to say 50-50 where I'm going, but
yeah.
Choosing a location matters.
Oh, of course it does.
Location Michigan sucks. But anytime I can say Michigan sucks, it's all the better. But
yeah,
seriously, it's it is a draw, and I think it's it is a little bit off the beaten path. Like it's kind of hard to get there. But once you're there, it's like you're always
Yeah,
going to
you're in it. I mean,
experience
that's the other thing. You're kind of
Yeah.
forced into it. You're going to run into fellow IEMers at all the restaurants. In fact, like I've told you a couple stories like over the last couple weeks when we were talking about this of like where I, pulled up to get some dinner and I'm just sitting there maybe with another person. I see some people talking and like, I mean, you can tell, right? Like they're either like blatantly emergency managers with the polo, the 511 backpack, they got their tactical pants and their like hiking shoes. Or you can just sort of like overhear like talking about something that you're doing. And then, you kind of just like, hey, do you guys want to join us? And people usually do, because that's, again, the point of going to this. So, like even just at restaurants, like if you're a loner, I know it can be challenging. Find someone there who's like good at networking to drag you to this stuff and to introduce you to people. Okay, so here's another like first timer thing. The first time I went, honestly, I was, as much as I like to run my mouth, I was actually a terrible networker. I was really uncomfortable sort of walking up to people I didn't know and like talking to them. And
That's actually shocking.
I was a brand new emergency manager, right? Like brand new. So like I didn't know anything. I did volunteer stuff for like, a few years, but like I didn't feel like I fit in. And so I was really fortunate that Bill, my supervisor at the time who went with me, was like, he knew everybody. And so he just dragged me to everything, introduced me to all these people. And then like once I got comfortable on my own, I was able to sort of like run with it. And, now it's much more like, a lot of it's just like, I think people look at maybe people who are in a higher position or like have more experience and that they're going to like look down on you. But honestly, like, I don't think I had a bad experience there. Everyone was so nice and so like welcoming, that, it's like, it's the emergency management equivalent of like Comic-Con, right? Like you all go there so that you have a safe space to.
But
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, tomato. But yeah, it's everyone there is pretty welcoming. So if you're nervous about talking to people, either find someone that that will drag you into these conversation. Oh, imposter syndrome. Yes. I mean, like, I'm talking to the chat. Chat's down here.
Okay.
The imposter syndrome aspect is. No joke. I mean, I've had imposter syndrome forever. Even now I'm like, talking on a microphone as though like, who wants to listen to this guy? What does he know? It's everyone has that. So if you can get over that, even if you can't get over it, you're going to eventually just sort of like coalesce. Like everyone's just sort of like falls together. 'Cause at lunch, you have to eat as a group if you stay there. They're huge areas. So you're going to end up sitting at tables with random people. And yeah.
I got an idea.
Yeah,
so I have no problem jumping in, obviously, right now.
Yeah.
And networking, and it's my first time. And if there are people on here, it's like, hey, join up with me. I'm more than happy to go and explore and introduce and be like, I don't feel awkward at all. It's like, hey.
No, he doesn't. Honestly, he makes me uncomfortable sometimes. He's so like.
I'd make you uncomfortable
when you you'll just walk up and say the most random thing to like someone you've never met before, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. But that's a perfect opportunity for networking. That's how you do it. So
yeah.
John Scardina. His name is John Scardina. So if you're listening to this,
or you are if you walk around with him,
you probably won't make other people uncomfortable. For someone who just talks for basically a living, like I do get randomly uncomfortable with other people being like more talkative than I am. I'm like, is that possible? Like I'm at 100. So, there we go. Talker, we got our chat wants to know, how can we get in touch? All right. So actually John is going to be handing out challenge coins. So that's one thing you can do. So if you follow his Disaster Tough podcast, so that's going to be on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, am I forgetting anything else? Twitter, but he doesn't really tweet, so it's better. Like LinkedIn and Instagram is like where he's most active. So
Instagram Reels. I'll just start posting like where I'm at throughout the day.
Yep. Also connect to him on LinkedIn, John Scardina at Doberman Emergency, or it's Doberman Emergency Management's our parent company. That's what owns the Readiness Lab and blah blah blah. So. There you go, the Doberman logo.
Doberman logo.
Connect with him, and he's a first timer, but he's been to Savannah, so he knows that. And like we said, he's shameless in his engagements.
He will
So
embarrass you. He is shameless.
no,
He is the
shameless
worst.
shameless is good. I think shameless in this case is good because you need someone who's like can just jump into a conversation. And
If anything, you got a friend. Right?
and the other thing is,
I'll have your back.
John's got a lot of connections. Like he really does. So even like just by riding in his wake or his coattails, you'll get to meet lots of
This is
important
like
people.
The third, yeah.
The third what? The third
third,
rail?
like,
No.
The wake, yeah. The wake, the scary. No, like the reality is, it's like, yeah, like every week I get to talk to, like you'd mentioned former female administrators.
Yeah.
You mentioned like really influential people. I love the idea of going to IAEM to meet other innovative people.
Yeah.
But because of this podcast, I think I got 100 friends like going. It's gonna be like a reunion for me.
Oh,
in some
100%.
ways.
Yeah, it's going to be
So
great.
it's like, hey, I'm happy to introduce people and have fun. And like, if anything, if you're feeling like kind of out of the boat, like, hey, how do I do this or whatever, seriously, jump on the wake and just ride and just have fun. And I'm happy to introduce whomever and pass challenge coins. So
I really hope my vision is when you get there, because again, this is your first time. There's two ways that this is going to go. Either you're going to be like, not in your case, but for most first timers, they go and they're just kind of like looking around like, oh my God, I don't know anyone here. I'm scared out of my mind. And you're going to probably walk in, hopefully like the mayor of IEM, who's just returned from like, a long hiatus, and they're like, oh, John, like here's this guy and that woman was on our podcast and she was on the strike team with me and da-da-da-da, and you're just like walking around like, you got a gaggle of people gathering around you.
I should bring a, what is that? Like a scepter? I should bring a scepter with me.
I don't think you can get a scepter on an airplane.
You know what? We can make something happen. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I actually love that. Instead of just like, all right, let me collect data here. I should just go all in. I should make a cape that says IAEM. Just go all in for the shameless.
If you make a cape, you're gonna have to sell that cape because all the emergency management nerds are gonna want an IAEM cape. Like you'll see, there's again, being a safe space for emergency managers. Like people will nerd out. You're gonna see all the like EM meme shirts. They're gonna have like I don't actually. Do I have one of my IEM? I can't find the last tag that I had. You've got all the ribbons. Like some people go nuts with those things, and they're just stacking those ribbons up. 10 deep. But honestly, again, if you look, so here's another thing for first timers. If you do have the IAM sticker that says first timer, the ambassadors and more experienced people will see that and they will engage with you. Like it actually does work. Stupid as it can feel sometimes to put ribbons on, it does help. There's also, if you belong to caucuses, so if you're a healthcare caucus, university, college, higher ed, your universities and college, state. I think we have the state association. I don't know if I wish I was going this year because we started a state association. I also am the VP of our state association, and I'm pretty sure this is the first year that it's been an official caucus. So they're going to have a meeting there. Having this stuff on there helps you identify like your subgroups as well. If you get to go early, so in the chat, the person's going to UCC. UCC. Oh my God, I love UCC. Again, I can give credit to so many people for making me the emergency manager that I am. But I would say like UCC sort of like forged me into like I was a molten mess of like emergency and first response when I got there. And over the course of 6 years in higher ed, they just forged me into this like Adonis statue. Just hardened steel. So go to those caucus meetings. The other thing is check out your region meetings because they have those they're usually like later in the day. That's a good way to like see who else is in your neighborhood, right? And I know like some FEMA regions are gigantic. Region 3, right? That's New York, New Jersey, and Puerto Rico. Like, so if you're an emergency manager in that region, you're probably not going to see your Puerto Rican counterparts. But Region 1's pretty tiny, so like going to those meetings was awesome. Got to see all my like compatriots from New England, which was cool. So go to those meetings. Go to the MX. There's like, I don't even know how many vendors, but tons of them. The warning about the MX, there are some like sketchy, anyone can sort of buy a space in there. One time I was going through and this person's like, oh, do you want to try this massage device? And I was like, I guess so. It was like one of those the TENS machines that like zap your arm and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I got up to leave, and they're like, that's $50. And I was like, what is? And they're like, the thing you just bought. And I was like, I didn't buy anything. And I just left. So anything that looks like a tchotchke or crap, just walk by it. Don't go near them. Don't engage with them. There are a few of them. It's not that many.
Have
but
things where they make people buy in the expo area.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts. Oh yeah, I mean you have like you have your like disaster store type places that sell like your vests, your cones, your flashlights, that type of stuff. There's like kind of the tchotchke group, like where you can buy like stickers and stuff usually. Then there is the huge stuff like the tents, the command vehicles. Command vehicles are always fun to go. I'm a huge fan of command vehicles, toys. A lot of communication stuff. Tons of mass notification companies are there. Pretty much, your Everbridges, Noggin, your all these like WebEOC, they'll all be there. Radio equipment, mesh networks. There was a lot of that was like the new thing. The last time I went was like all these new mesh systems that were out there, and then like just random crap, like stuff that you're like, what are you doing here? But they're like, I bought a booth and I want to sell crap. So. But it is fun to go to. And then there are sessions even at there while you're there to go like learn about products and other stuff, which is also useful. So that's a lot of stuff. I feel like we pretty much covered the basics.
If you're like me and you're like totally on the outside, you're like, okay, what am I jumping into? I think you just gave like a really fantastic overview from the experience inside of the actual conference to the experience outside and the opportunities it can provide. Really, like the number one thing is like my draw again is going back and saying like that networking piece, and there's networking for work, but then there's also networking for ideas.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's like probably the biggest thing that anytime I go to anywhere new, it's like what can I gain from this? And I think people should if they're hesitant or they're worried or they're trying to figure out like where that place is if they're not shameless like me, like. It's okay to be selfish and say, like, what will I gain from this? Like, try to find the right people and the right groups and the right things.
Oh, having a plan going into it will be more efficient for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, be an emergency manager. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Right? Make a plan. Be prepared.
Yeah. If there's people or specifically, if you're a brand new emergency manager, find your folks that are really experienced, connect with them early on. Go in with a plan that just makes it more efficient because there's just so much to do. There's so much. Like, actually look at there's usually an app that you can download and load all your stuff into. You should do that in case stuff changes. It updates you throughout the day. Plus, there's a lot of giveaways and stuff in that. But sign up for the sessions. Plan those out.
We should do like fun things to like help the crowd interact, like
T-shirt cannon,
an EM Weekly. No, I was thinking like random photos of khaki pants.
Oh yeah.
Like tag EM.
All
Weekly.
the different. All the different tack pants.
Stream.
Yeah.
Like just like fun stuff like that to like get people engaged.
All the tactical backpacks. Yeah. Patches. Hand out patches. Oh God. So if you don't have coins, show up with patches. Hey, just show up with something from your agency. I should have brought this up earlier. There's a currency, right? Like this is at any public safety conferences. If you show up with patches and coins, that is you're in jail and you've got cigarettes. Like that moves the needle, right? Like if you walk up to someone and you're like, hey, I'm this person, and they're like, you get to talk to them a little bit, and you're like, this person's cool, and you hand them a patch or a coin, they're going to remember you. Because, as soon as they get home and they're unloading their bag, they're like, oh, yeah, Doberman Emergency Management, disaster tough. And so it's just a good way. It's more effective than cards. Also, bring cards, like hand out your card to everybody. Or digitally, whatever you want to do. If you're smart enough and you've got, Apple devices or whatever, and you can just swap that stuff right off the bat. Oh man, there's just so much. I wish I was going this year.
I wish you were too, honestly.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of this. I will continue to fly the IAEM flag. I should get my CM. I know I haven't, but it's just so expensive.
Just don't
and
do it.
I know.
I think so. Let's talk about this because like this is like supposed to be the place where you can talk.
This is
right?
a safe space.
Safe space. I'm excited to explore the areas of IAEM that I think IAEM really does well.
Yeah.
And from a practitioner standpoint, from a person who hires emergency managers from government to now private sector, and again, outsider perspective for sure. But I've looked at it. Like, I've taken the practice test and was like basically FEMA certs. Like, IAEM doesn't really need to do that. Like, they need to like really hone in on. They are the largest gathering of emergency managers, right?
Yeah.
Like that cultism that they're developing here has a huge opportunity to like do some real good in the world. And honestly, like the CEM and the like, for people who've gone through that process, like my hat's off to them. I know it's like really really intense to go through that. So no disrespect at all. However, I think as an organization, IAEM, the draw again for people who like me is like, I have 2 EM degrees. I've been doing this forever. There's a lot of people like that out there. We want to go and we want to interact as emergency managers who want to hear great ideas and get to know the crowd. And heck, like I'll wear my blue shirt and khaki pants if that and give my currency like everybody else.
Rocket. Yeah.
Rocket. But like CEM, like I'd be curious to know truly like how the field thinks about it, because I think it's like one or the other. Like there's really no gray area.
The good news is you'll be at an event where they will be discussed. Like there's a CEM advisory council that will meet at this, and you can sit in on that. And
oh my gosh, can I comment on it?
I believe so.
This
Yeah.
is a joke.
Yeah. No, I think I think you'll find that like for all of the love and admiration of IAM, like people also speak very frankly there. I've been in some like sessions where I'm like, ugh, like God,
well,
like they're just
funny enough. For how much we coordinate and collaborate, sometimes we're not very tactful. We're like, hey, we're used to like the flood coming down the road.
Yeah.
And so that like turns into everything. Like,
sure,
oh, this is horrible. You're like for even me, like, is CEM really that bad?
Probably
yes, it
not.
is. But, no, maybe it's really not that bad. And by the way, but to my own counterpoint, it's provided people an opportunity for career advancement. It's provided something to aim for.
Sure.
And so again, it's like no hate on it. It's just not something for me. But I think as an organization, I think as like this opportunity to be around emergency managers, man, that's the part where I'm like, let's dive all in.
Let's go.
Let's do this. Yeah. And then we can work on some of the other stuff, like that culture thing, the definition, the standardization, all that. Like, they don't need to do that. Like, they are the gatherer of emergency managers.
Yes.
Just, like, let them do it.
Yeah. Totally.
And I will wear my crown and my cape. I really want to actually, like, straight up, like, crown, cape, king of EM, IAEM. For a guy who's never been, doesn't have
coming in real hot. It's good to burn your bridges before you walk through the door.
Hey, you know what? I bet you almost anything with that many people there. There's a crowd for me, and there's a crowd not for me.
I think on that note, we will wrap this up. Be sure to like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Leave comments in the chat so people can actually learn from your knowledge. Get together. Like I said, go see John in person. He'll be handing out challenge coins and stuff. And I won't be there this year. I'll be there in spirit and helping out John online as we sort of try to engage people there through our social media. And IAEM Annual Conference. Going to be fun. See you guys virtually there.